Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Yes, as I said many times, these guys, they communicate, and they communicate when they make a decision on this planet. And I'm talking about the United States and the Russians. Why they need to make sure they keep everything under control. The same thing is true for the war in Ukraine. The Americans and the Russians definitely communicate behind the scenes and they negotiate. I'm going to do this. No, if you do this, I'm going to do this. Don't do this. Okay, but you don't do this. And then the Americans are telling the Ukrainians, hey, you can't do this. Hey, you can't attack that. Hey, you can't. What kind of total war that is? And the Russians do not blow up the leader of Ukraine for the same reason. It seems like there's a little negotiation over their trade, like a bazaar. So now, if you are very familiar with what happened in Nagorno-Karabakh a week ago or so, it was a little splendid war as, what's his name, Teddy Roosevelt said about the American Spanish War, when they invaded Cuba and they took Cuba, a little splendid war. I think that's what he said. So the same here. It was one day, and then the guys in Nagorno-Karabakh, the Armenians, were so lost everything. One day we're done, and then they said, "Well, we don't want to fight anymore. We're good." That smelled rats right there. You can smell it. So what happened? Well, the Americans, the Europeans, and the Russians held secret talks before the one-day splendid war. So what does that tell you? Give and take. And now the French foreign minister is, I think, she still is in Armenia, and said France will give Armenia weapons to defend itself from the evil guys. So I don't think they reach an agreement. Since the French are doing that, or they didn't get along or go along with the Americans and the rest of the European Union and the Russians, and they go their own way. That could be one. The other one, the Russians through Azerbaijan will do something to Armenia, and before the Americans, Al Capone gets in, or the French, Al Capone's little street thug, one of them. So let me show you this article from Ukrainska Pravda. EU, Russia, and US held secret talks before one-day war in Nagorno-Karabakh. They need only one day, and before it was back and forth. Anyway, Wednesday, the 4th of October, 2023, today. Top US and EU officials met with Russian representatives in secret emergency talks in Turkey over Nagorno-Karabakh, just days before Azerbaijan launched its lightning-fast military operation to regain control of the territory. A senior diplomat with knowledge of the discussions told the media that the meeting took place on September 17th in Istanbul. Constantinople? No? Okay. Byzantium? No, all right. As part of efforts to pressure Azerbaijan to end its 9-month blockade of the Lachin corridor, which leads to Nagorno-Karabakh, and allow convoys of humanitarian aid from Armenia. No, nothing wrong with that. The source said that the meeting was focused on ensuring supplies of food and fuel for approximately 100,000 residents of the unrecognized republic. The US was represented by Louis Bono. I thought it was the U2 frontman. Washington's senior advisor, maybe Bono, the other guy with Cher and Bono, is the same one? Poor guy. Well, he wanted her, now he got it. Wherever he is. Up or down, I think down. I'm going to meet him when I go over there. The EU sent Taivo Klar, its representative in the region. Russia sent Igor Kovaev, Putin's special representative for the normalization of relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan, to the meeting. The secret meeting, which is not secret anymore, is an example of a rare contact. Let me get my violin, my Stradivari, and play you some Paganini. Okay, a rare contact between Moscow and the West on serious security issues since Russian President Vladimir Putin, blah, 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 blah. That's good. That's exactly what they wanted. before they invaded unprovoked Ukraine. That's exactly what they wanted. And this guy said, you know what? Off. Why don't you start already? You're late. And I said, okay, book. Oh, it's unprovoked. The crazies. The EU representative explained that, and I'm quoting, we believe it is important to maintain channels of communications. Thank you, mofos. With relevant interlocutors to avoid misunderstandings. That's exactly what I said many, many times before. And exactly that should have happened before February 24th, 2022. But hey, I think it was, I'm not talking to you, I want you to do that. I know that if I'm not talking to you, you're gonna act that way. Oh, see, everybody, he's doing that, all right? I have nothing to do with it. I don't want to communicate. If I would have communicated and talked to them, maybe we could have found a something. But I said, no, I'm not going to talk to you. Is he starting yet? No. Starting yet? No. But there he is. He also said that Claude had tried to keep the channels of communication open on many fronts over the past years, including talks with Kovaev and Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Galuzin. A representative of the U.S. State Department refused to comment on the meeting, saying only that we do not comment on private diplomatic discussions. You gotta be kidding me. Probably it didn't go their way. Probably they just threw Armenia under the bus or something, and they're ashamed of themselves. They don't want us to find out how weasels they are. That is, they lost probably. It's an assumption, not based on anything, but the fact that this guy doesn't want to comment, that's not a victory. Because if a victor would have been, he would be like, give me the fucking trumpet. Immediately, he would have play a Louis Armstrong right here. But no, he didn't. Oh, we don't comment. All of a sudden, they have principles. My friends, come on. Probably they, through Armenia, said, okay, we're not going to touch it. We're going to we're not going to touch it. We'll see. I still think that Russia, if Armenia is going to do, and already is doing something with the International Criminal Court, The Hague, the club, the organization, not the real one at United Nations, an organization, a club, international. Like we have the cricket, club here in Dubai. Bombay. I'm sorry, Dubai, Bombay. So, or New Delhi. That's what I think it is, my friends. But I think it's going to be a little war over there. And I think the Russians will invade through Azerbaijan. I don't want that to happen, but I would like Azerbaijan and Armenia to be, all cool about it. But they will not be because it seems like both of them have their own masters. An American official, speaking anonymously, explained that the negotiations were held due to the understanding that the Kremlin still dominates the region. Voila, mon ami. An American official explained that the negotiations were held due to the understanding that the Kremlin still dominates the region. Still, not for long. And I'm quoting, we need to be able to work with the Russians on this because they do have influence over the parties, especially as we are at the precarious moment right now. What precarious moment? In Ukraine, maybe? I think the Americans empires, tyrannies cannot show weaknesses because the whole spiel is based on power and intimidation. The first little mutiny you have to crush it completely. And that would serve as an example for the others. I would like to, oh my God, look what happened to Gigi. Shit. No, for that. So empires cannot show weaknesses. Once an empire shows weaknesses, it collapses internally from inside and from the outside enemies if those guys want to act. The fact that the Al Capone became more flexible all of a sudden, even though I don't know what they agreed over there. But just to talk to those and have these two statements here, we don't comment on private diplomatic discussions, that's a blah, blah, blah. And the other one, it's a precarious moment right now. and so on, and the Russians, they have their own, dominates the region. This tells me not a belligerent, how should I put it, diplomatic discussion. I think just if United States would have been tough, guys would say, we don't talk to you. Armenia is an independent, sovereign country, which I hope it is, which I don't think it is, but anyway, and it can make its own decisions. Remember when they said that about Ukraine? Why? Because they wanted Ukraine, they were in Ukraine, they were working on Ukraine for years already. From 2014, they were working on Ukraine. So said, no, we're going to get ready for this. You go ahead, we're waiting. All right, my friends, I still think over there, if the Armenians continue, it's going to be something big over there. It's not going to be like dying out. Either the prime minister, who's with Al Capone, and as I said, the Armenian ambassador to London, they don't get kicked, and they stay. It's between this, what's going on internally. They're going to have some, unfortunately, I think, a violent outcome. Either internal violent, or if that doesn't settle, the outside will, the Russians will come over. You know? And I showed you many times in a few videos I made yesterday, the day before, and so on. Armenia has no communication. It has Turkey next door. It has, I think, Iran in the south. It has Georgia in the north. It has Azerbaijan in the east. It doesn't have Black Sea. Doesn't have access. So if the American wants to help them somehow, they have to go to Turkey, to Erdogan. So Erdogan wants a lot of things. Erdogan will become very rich if he allows. Or Georgia will be bombarded if decides to cooperate with Al Capone and allow troops to come to the Black Sea. And the Black Sea, I think the Russians will dam up. We'll see. Definitely, it's too far away. It's too isolated of the area. You don't have, in Ukraine you have the whole western and southern part free. You got Romania weasels, you got Hungary, you got Slovakia, you have Poland. All that's territory where you can bring whatever you want in and take out. Over there in Armenia, you have nothing. You have Turkey, and you don't know where Turkey sits at this point, on the throne or somewhere in the field, counting his balls. Anyway. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.